As always, I love speaking to you because you give us a good glimpse of actually some of the inners and goings of the banking world. Are things picking up? Are you seeing more transactions, whether hostile or not?
Thank you, first of all, Francine, for having me today. Yes, we see definitely more activity. This is on the back of more favorable environment already in 2023 with more favorable conditions for financing, which is key to push M&A. So M&A has seen in Europe an increase of 45% in terms of volume year to date, and this is both on strategic large transaction, the one that you mentioned, but also private equity. While in mid-corporate and smaller transaction, a fewer number of announced deals, but I think this mood can be consolidated in positive in the next few quarters because we see an intake of new mandates coming in. And this can be also fueled by a further decrease in interest rates and the stabilization of the markets.
But Alberto, do you see private equity as an asset class that will just keep on growing and growing? I spent a lot of time with private equity titans that say, you know, we are the future, this is where it's going to go, it's private credit and the like.
For sure. You have to imagine that the private equity are among the biggest fee payer into the market. They have amassed a big capital in terms of new money coming in. They have to sell assets and they have to invest the money that they have collected. So they will be a key driver for the industry for a long run. So
what does it mean for Mediobanca? I know you're also targeting wealth management. How big, if you look at some of your targets that you've put in place, are they all in line with what you're expecting, 6% in terms of, for example, wealth management as a top contributor?
Yeah. We are in the implementation of our plan. This is our first year, and we are more than happy with what we have been achieving. Why? Because basically we set an important target to evolve Mediobanca into a wealth management and operates it with a model we call it private and investment banking model. No? Why? Because Mediobanca has always been close to family in Italy, large family having large cap. In the last 10 years, we have invested a lot also in mid caps. So today, in Italy, to grow in private banking, you have to be close to events. The events are the opening up of capital of mid-corporates. So if you have a powerful investment bank that has strong relation with the families, then you can be there when events are happening, because also you manage those events. And so you are very close to be the possible wealth manager of their wealth when they come in.
I think you also never, shied away from talking about possible small bolt-on acquisitions. Do you have a treasure trove, and what segment of the market would you be looking at?
Well, in the second pillar of our strategy is to evolve also not only our wealth management to become much bigger, which is happening, but also to evolve our model of investment banking in a way that is to be considered more advisory-driven. And in this, we have targeted two main sectors. One is digital transition, and we have done this partnership with Arma Partners, which is a leading boutique in digital advisory, which is outperforming the European market as the biggest team in Europe. And this is one driver of growth. The second is energy transition. We have announced 3 of the most important deals in Europe, in Southern Europe. So these two basically sectors, together also with mid-corporate and private capital, as I said before, are the key driver of evolving our investment banking to capital-light fee-based.
Is there a country that is more appetizing than others? I think you've also opened an office in Frankfurt. But given all the political turmoil, be it in the US or France, is there a danger that your short-term strategy has to be readjusted?
I don't think we have to readjust because basically, as we said, M&A and the dynamic of mid-corporate in Europe will be such, even in the medium term. So we will see a lot of transition from family-owned company, entirely owned by family, to family where private equity are playing a good role, either to grow, to list, or to recap. So this is going to be a team for the future. So becoming an important player in mid-corporate as well in the most important connected economy to Italy, so France, Spain, Portugal, and Germany, will reinforce our model and is an evergreen. So there can be cycle, but this is going to be a trend.
But Alberto, private equity is actually changing quite significantly because they're buying companies and then holding on to them for a much longer cycle. Do you see that changing their business model and changing your business model?
Well, it's more cyclical. The fact that they're holding for longer also depends on price expectation and entry price. Yeah. There will be an adjustment. They will take an adjustment and move on. We see private equity enlarging a lot their spectrum in a number of asset class. From pure private equity LBO, they are becoming a credit operator. They are becoming real estate operator. So they are expanding a lot. Huh?
Yeah. I've known you for at least 10 years, and every year I ask you, is there going to be cross-border consolidation amongst the banks?
Well, you know, Francine, everybody speaks about consolidation in Europe, in banking consolidation, but this hardly happens. Why? We need to focus on the obstacle and remove the obstacle. There are, I would say, political and technical obstacles. Political obstacle because there are still some banks in Europe owned partly by government where local interests are prevailing. So they are always saying, okay, we are favorable to consolidation, but when you go and ask for disposal of the stake, you understand that it's better to find a national solution rather than a cross-border solution. Then there are technical issues we can work on, we should work on. So I mentioned some. In a moment of higher interest rates, you have long-dated assets that have to be marked down when it comes to merger accountability, no? While the liability are not going to be, reevaluated. So this is something that should be reconsidered. GFI buffer is another issue. So there are some big banks in Europe that are not big banks in reality worldwide that have GFI buffer that is too big. And we need to rethink about those GC buffer also with 81.